Hey everyone, so this is going to be my first airplane video. This is an older airplane I have. I'm not really reviewing it or anything. I'm just showing, it's really just a tutorial on how to actually repair foam aircraft. This is a foamy. He's a little park flyer I got a long time ago. I don't know if I'm going to keep him or sell him or what, but one thing I did want to do was repair the nose. If you've noticed, this part should be on there. So instead of just doing it, I thought I would make a video and show you how I do it. It's not really that hard, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but I thought if I was going to make the video, I would do it as best as I can. So yeah, the goal is to get this back on there, and the biggest issue is that it's not a clean break. It's kind of ugly. I lost a lot of foam in the impact. It's not in there. So the best I'm going to be able to do is use this glue here, Bob Smith Industries. This is going to be, it is foam safe glue, even though I'm pretty sure you can use regular super glue on this one. But if you're not sure, you always use foam safe glue. That's what this is. It's from Bob Smith Industries, and it is 5 to 15 second glue, so it gives you a little bit of time to set it up, get it aligned the way you want. It's also medium gap filling. That means I think it's a little thicker. So that's what I'm going to use to glue it back on. Now, even with the gap filling that it says it allegedly has, it's not going to fill in all the gaps. So for that, what you want to do is get this right here, and it doesn't have to be this brand. Just lightweight wall spackling. So they have regular weight and then lightweight. You want the lightweight because this is an aircraft. The heavier stuff is really for home modeling type things, you know, putting up drywall and stuff. I think this is for ceilings, to be honest with you. But you want the light stuff. It's much lighter than the regular wall spackling because we are doing airplanes here. So you're going to put that on there and mush it all kind of in there, and then you sand it down to the right shape. And then lastly, this is the best color match I could get. It's a Tamiya color. So I'm going to try that, and we're going to see if I can make it look really good, even if the rest of the plane doesn't look that great. I mean, it's really just for the video and just general practice. So let's get to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is, so actually there's one thing I didn't show you. I also have the accelerator too. So the glue will work by itself, but this accelerator makes it much quicker. So you don't have to sit around and wait, especially if you want to put the plane, you have a nice clean break and you want to put the plane up in a couple of minutes. You can use this accelerator to basically make the glue set to, I think, like 80% of its strength. And then if you're willing to wait, it takes like another day or two for it to get to 100%, but usually 80% is plenty. So at least enough to get you back up in the air. So the way I typically do this is, and this is going to be a little difficult because the brake is so mangled. Generally, just like you're gluing anything, you're just gonna, you know, put the glue. You can see that, yeah, I guess you know what I'm doing. I just kind of goop it in there. And I'm only going to put it on one side. I don't think it really makes a difference. And then, this is a little difficult doing this on camera. Then I'm going to do my best to basically just mush it on here. See how it's, you know, it doesn't always just grab right away. So I'm hoping that's the best connection I can make there. And if you can see still, you could probably tell that, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of foam missing there. It looks a little off, but I'm kind of going to go, I don't know how I can really get that oriented any better with all the damage. It's pretty severe, to be honest with you. Now I'll use and really what I do is I just spray the accelerator on, just like so. Now for this, I have plenty of gaps for it to get in there. If it's more of a tight fit, you really have to spray the foam, I mean the accelerator, all the way around, like upside down and everything. Let's see, is this even? Yeah, it's still very weak. You have to go under here. Yeah, this is definitely, see how much of a gap there is there? Not much. So this is going to be a tricky one. And it's not going to come out perfect, but this is the break I have currently. So I'm going to fix that for you. And we'll see how good we can make it look. It's definitely grabbed. But see how there's barely anything to hold on there? I probably should have put a nail in there or something. Then if it crashes again, it's going to rip more apart. But what can I say? So that's the first part of this. The second part is I'm going to get this out. I'm usually going to add some water, put it on like a paper plate, get a, some kind of a knife, plastic knife, and I'm just going to slap it all on there and try to fill in all the gaps. I'm going to let this sit for about an hour. Just let the accelerator dry up and stuff like that. Let it kind of dry out a little bit. All right, so that's going to be the next part of the video. We'll see if this works out. All right, so I'm back. I put the wall spackle in a little tray. I mixed it up, added some water. Well, I added some water and then I mixed it up. So when you first take it out, it's pretty hard. It's not like hard, but it's not easy to, oh, I'm sorry. It's not easy to spread. See how it's like that? That's exactly what it looks like when it comes out. Here is how I spreaded it. I added some water and you can see how it's actually goopy here, but in the middle it's more, it's thicker. This is what I want. It's kind of a peanut butter consistency. That's what I like. So that's what how you're gonna want to get it. Just keep adding water to it. It's basically like a mud. That's what they call it. Literally call it mud. So that's ready. Now with the gap filling glue, I would have thought, gee, I could just keep adding glue more and more until it's, until the gap is full. And I guess you could do that, but the super glue isn't super easy to, sand. This stuff here sands very easily. And in fact, here's what I use to usually sand it. I just wet this. Sometimes I'll wet it, sometimes I'll do it dry. I think it's like 220. So this is pretty light sandpaper. So if it's low, like 60 grit sandpaper, that's aggressive. 220, 330 or whatever it is, the higher it goes, the less aggressive it is. So I like about 220. And you can use regular sandpaper too. I just like the sanding sponges. These are good if you want to do it wet. When you do it wet, it's a little less aggressive, even more, and it doesn't make as much of a mess because everything sticks to the sponge, but it does get packed. So you have to go in and rinse out the sponge more. But you're really not doing a whole lot of work here. So this is the next part. So basically, we're just going to get a little bit here, and we're going to start applying it. And it doesn't have to look good, because remember, we're going to be sanding this down. So you really just want to get it in those gaps. Just mush it all in there. See, it's a little hard. You can wipe it off. Use some more of the watery stuff here. This is not easy to do on camera. So I have to be at a weird angle. I'm just using a regular plastic knife that I got from the kitchen. And I would make it look pretty ugly, like a bulge, like a smooth bulge, because remember, we're going to fix it by sanding it, all right? You can see that. So let's just go around and that. And maybe I'll speed this part up now. All right, so I'm done. This is what it looks like, and it looks pretty ugly, right? So it looks like almost like a wrap around where the impact, where the crack was, the gap. So I pretty much filled it all in. That was the main thing I wanted to do here, was make sure it was all filled in. I got the wall spackle all in there to fill that gap. So the idea is the next part with the sanding, I can take stuff off, but I can't put it back on. So, I mean, this stuff sands very easily. So I'm just going to shape it using the sandpaper. And I've got to wait about an hour or two possibly for this all to dry. So that's the next part. So yeah, glop it on and make it look real ugly, because you're going to have to sand it either way. The foam sands a little bit too. So you can actually get them, you know, relatively together. All right, so I'm back. It took about 2 days for this all to dry, believe it or not. So you may have to wait a little bit. I kind of just kept pushing it with my finger until it got really, really hard. And then I was able to start sanding it right there. And now I can tell that it's ready to go. If you look, I used more than I needed to. And I wanted to do that for this video just so you could see that it will come out okay. It just takes a little bit extra work if you put too much on. So putting too much is probably better than putting too little. And it'll probably come out just fine even though there's too much there. So remembering back when I've done this before in the past, usually I start out with 120 grit sandpaper or sanding sponge, whatever. Then I move up to, when I get it really close, I move down to technically less aggressive 220, and then maybe even less further down to like 300s and 400s, depending on how good you actually want it to look. So this is really for not just your casual crash. This is bringing, you know, your plane back to what you want it to really look its best. If you want to just put it on a shelf or something, it's really up to you what you want here. So this next part, I'm pretty much going to just start sanding it. You can see I sanded a little off there. It comes off really easy and really fast. So if you use too much, it's not a big deal. And it's not uncommon to have to apply a little more and wait again. You know, if you take too much off, that does happen. It's according to how good you want it to look. So that's really all this takes. It's something that you got to practice and you'll get better with it over time. So that's really this part. I'm going to do the sanding off camera because I just can't sit here with this angle and do it on camera. Plus it's going to be kind of boring. It's not the funnest thing to watch. So with that, it should be all sanded down, and in the next part, and I'll show you, and I'll just do the painting. This one might be a little tricky because I actually have plastic nose with foam here. Last time it was all foam, so we'll see how this turns out. And all right, so I'm back and I'm all done sanding. It came out pretty good. I only spent about maybe 10-15 minutes on it. I mostly used 110 as really a spackle remover sander, and then I used a 220 pretty much right here where it meets up with the foam airframe and the plastic tip that came off. And I used the 120 mostly just in the center, and I didn't even really use any 320 or anything like that. And I ended up using sandpaper, not the sanding sponge, because I could really put my finger on it and feel where I needed material to come off. Right now it looks a little funky. That's because of all the paint, different colors and stuff. So, well, we're going to see how that looks as soon as I get this paint on it. And I'll probably do a scheme where I just paint, you know, around kind of a deeper in here and then right around there. That's what I'm thinking. But I mean, you can spend, you know, a lot of time on this, reapplying and sanding and reapplying if you want to get it perfect. I just wanted to get it look halfway decent for this video. So, all right, so hopefully you'll see it painted in a moment. So I'm going to go do that and I'll see you right back. Okay, so I'm back again. It's all painted up, but we did have an issue. So I picked out the paint based on how it would match up, and this seems to match up pretty well. Apparently the paint damages the foam. Remember I was talking about foam safe glue and everything, and I thought this was the type of foam that can handle more aggressive chemicals. And I did use foam safe glue, so everything's good there. I do have a good bond here. This is on there pretty tight. But apparently the paint has something in it that attacked the foam, as you can see. Pretty much what you're seeing is it's not attacking the spackle, so the spackle looks good, and then where there was actual foam, it's eating into it. That's what it looks like when your foam gets attacked. So I guess it's a good lesson for me and you and everyone. But yeah, that's what happens when your foam gets attacked. So what do I do now? Well, I kind of rinse and repeat, really. I'm going to let this dry. It's done the damage that it's going to do. The tip is on there still securely because the glue wasn't an issue. So off camera, I'm going to refill this with spackle, and then I'm going to sand it again, and then I'm going to paint the spackle this time, because this is the paint I have, so I don't know what else to do. And it matches up really well. So I'm going to try to spackle everywhere that the paint is going to touch, and hopefully in the next time I come back, it'll actually look a whole lot better than that. But this is a good example of what happens when you apply the wrong chemicals to foam paint. It eats into it just like that. Also, I messed up with these. I should have peeled these stickers back. I don't know what I was thinking. So I'm going to peel them back and cut them off. It'll give me a chance to fix that too. And hopefully this will look a lot better next time you see it. All right, so let's try this again. All right, so I'm back, and to end this how-to video, it did work out. And I definitely learned a how-to for myself. How to put paint that's unsafe for foam on a foam body. That's what I accomplished today. That's what tripped me up. That's why this video is much longer than I expected it to take. So just to recap what I did, I used foam safe CA glue to pretty much basically glue this back on as best I could. And I would have needed it for this. It would have eaten right through this foam and it would have just deteriorated. Then I put lightweight wall spackle, molded the nose, filling all the gaps, and sanded it back down. I put way too much on, and I sanded it back down, and that helped a lot because there were no what's it called, like, you know, divots or depressions or anything. I was able to, you know, it sands off real easy. So after that, I ended up trying to apply the paint, which turned out it wasn't safe for this foam. It did say for plastics, but I didn't think that it would have issue with foam. It said nothing on the bottle about not being safe for foam, so it was like the perfect color, so I thought this is what I have to use. Anyways, I put that on there and it destroyed a lot of the surface, but only where it was touching the foam, not where it was touching the wall spackle. So I once again repeated the process, put more wall spackle on it, sanded it down again, and this smoothed everything out and got rid of the deterioration of the foam. After that, to fix the problem, I went out, well, I didn't go out, but I already had it. You can get it at Home Depot. It's called Kills Paint Primer. It's paint, it's white paint, and it's a primer. It looks just like this. This is some of it right here showing. And I know I didn't fix this. I'm leaving that. I'm really just showing you how to reattach and shape this nose. Anyways, so I put that on there and covered all the foam, put 2 coats, and then I put 2 coats of the original paint that destroyed the foam, and it didn't, obviously. The primer was meant to be painted over, and it did protect the foam in this case. And that's it, you know, and that's the foam, that's the nose being repaired. I know there's a crack here, and it's technically sort of not really, and there's a gap here and stuff, and it's ugly. It's glued together. It definitely holds with no problem. I don't really feel like fixing it. I pretty much just thought I'm gonna probably sell this guy, and I want him to look halfway decent, so I thought I'd put the nose back on. And yes, so it just looks ugly, but it's fine, and I think I can sell it just fine like that. They're going to know it was crashed anyway. And yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to be. I really just wanted to make this video to show you the overall process. To actually get decent or perfect results, it requires practice. That's really what it is. Practice, not so much gluing, but sculpting the wall spackle, and obviously picking out the perfect paints and matching it up perfectly. Like this one is pretty close, I would say, but this is a little bit more glossy, I feel, and this is a little flatter, just kind of how it worked out. I mean, it's almost, it can be very hard to get to match things perfectly unless you decide to repaint the whole plane. So that was my how-to, and I get to learn something too on how to repair foam airplanes, both structurally and cosmetically. All right, so I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.